one of you going to send me the slides, or were you going to? Hi, everyone. This is Rob Darrow from iNACOL. Welcome to our Teacher Talk webinar today, where we've got two outstanding online educators who are going to share some great stuff with you in just a minute. Before we do that, since we've got a small group here, I'll do it both ways. So I'm going to go forward here. If you wouldn't mind, click on that little star to the left of the whiteboard and click on that map and show us where you are. And then if you'd like to type in the chat room or grab the microphone and introduce yourself, that would be great as well. So I see we've got people from Illinois, Tennessee, and Marissa, I forget where you live, but do you want to tell us where you're from and what you do? And then we'll hear from the other people too. Great. So Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and people from other places as well. Great. So we're excited today to have some outstanding presenters. First of all, Raquel Clark began her teaching career in 2011. She's a 23-year-old graduate from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. She wrote this, that's not me. She enjoys spending time with her family and boyfriend and coaches middle school cheerleading in her spare time. Wow, that's a lot of work. I've known many cheerleading coaches in my time, and those people work hard. She currently works at the Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences, a Paideia School of Excellence, and part-time as an online instructor at Village Virtual. And then we have Mrs. Lindsay McCarter, who started her teaching career in 2002. Throughout her career, she taught technology classes, summer school, 6th grade integrated language arts and social studies, 6th grade content literacy, and she's been happily married for 5 years and 2 wonderful cats, Pumpkin and Stella Luna. It's a great book, by the way. Currently, she works at Brown International Academy IB World School as a school library media specialist and part-time as an online instructor at Village Virtual. So welcome, Raquel and Lindsay. We're glad you're here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to be here. All right, we're going to open with a point of reflection. As we all know, as teachers in any capacity, we should be reflective practitioners. So I wanted to pull one of my favorite quotes is, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And that's actually been kind of taken out of context, and here's the original quote from Gandhi. "If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man," and I inserted woman there, "as a man or woman changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others do." So just take about a minute or so, just kind of think about how that really connects with what we're doing, not just as teachers, educators, but as online educators. And it's a big distinction. So take about a minute or so and ponder.
All right, now that you've had a minute of reflection, what I want you to do now, if you have a pencil or paper, or if you have Microsoft Word loaded on your computer right now, I want you to think about a goal that you would like to accomplish for today's webinar and jot that down. And if you feel comfortable, add it to the chat room list so that we can see your goal and discuss it.
If it is easier to talk rather than type it, feel free to do so as well. Thanks for joining, Debbie. We're just sharing a personal goal before we get started with the presentation. You can verbalize it and share, or you're welcome to write it out. Okay, we're going to talk for a moment because as I think we have a lot of misconceptions that we all deal with anyone that has experience with online, or even if you're new with online or virtual teaching, however you want to say it. We all need to recognize that in everything that we do, we need to get back to the best practices. Some can still be the paper and pencil from time to time because we do have to meet the learners where they are. So we wanted to meet you where you are and give you an idea. Feel free to use this graphic organizer or not, like we would with any student. But throughout our presentation, and we are about to start it, but we just wanted to take those times to reflect and get organized. But right here on this slide, we've done 4 squares, is what I call it to my students. And if you would like to, just use your own Microsoft Word or pen and paper. And be thinking of aha moments as we talk about online teaching in our presentation. Lost my screen. Things I can do tomorrow. Because whenever I go to a workshop or professional development, I want to see what can I do tomorrow. That's great. We can do these long plans and set up things. But what can I leave with tomorrow? So I hope you can walk away with that. And of course, questions for me, the librarian, or questions for Raquel, the math instructor. And on that note, like I said, an online teacher is still a teacher. And I found this word splash, and it really spoke to me. Because no matter what we do in any capacity, if you're involved in education, you have the same stress, or you have stress maybe in different types, but we're still dealing with rigorous curriculum. We're still dealing with testing. We're still dealing with children. We're still dealing with parents. All those things go in, and I just thought this word splash just spoke to me.
Our findings are clear, said Moran, an NEPC fellow. Children who enroll in a K-12 incorporation cyber school who receive full-time instruction in front of a computer instead of in a classroom with a live teacher and other students are more likely to fall behind in reading and math. These children are also more likely to move between schools or leave school altogether. And the cyber school is less likely to meet federal education standards.
I found this piece of research quite disturbing. And I thought, how is this going to connect with our topic today? And I felt like it's right in our face. It tells us that basically K-12 schools are failing. What's going on here? And this is one research, one thing, as we all know, take it with a grain of salt, but it was quite disturbing. And I thought, this is what we're doing today. This is our goal, is to share with you support systems for online and blended learning, because we want our students to do more than simply sit in front of a computer, send an email, contact your parents the minimal times, and walk away, get our paycheck. I know it sounds horrible, but so many times in misconceptions, as here it is in Tennessee, many teachers think, oh, this is an easy way to leave the classroom. They find the classroom to be very stressful. But what are we going to do? So let's teach virtual school, and that's not a solution. That's a failure right there. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about is how to augment the courses and also how to prevent failure. We want success. So I'm going to let Raquel talk about her experience in the past year.
Hi everyone. Once again, I'm Raquel Clark, and I am a math instructor. And so I wanted to kind of open my segment with an experience and some doubts I had when I first started. Last year was my first year as a teacher and also as an online instructor. So I had already experienced the regular school classroom and the ups and downs of teaching. And then in the summertime, I participated in virtual school. And the night before classes began, I asked myself several questions. I thought about, how the year had panned out, and I wondered, okay, teaching math in a regular classroom was extremely, extremely hard, so I can only imagine how this is going to be on a computer. How is this beneficial for students? Is it going to work? I mean, 6th grade math a lot of people think that it's not that rigorous, but 6th grade math is a foundation for algebra and geometry and trig and calculus and other mathematical courses. So I was really, really afraid. But as the summer went on, I realized that virtual school is great for students because it allows them to pace themselves, for them to be fully engaged because they have to participate in the learning. They are self-independent. And also, it's just great for students to be able to take on the role as both the teacher in a sense and the student. So I decided that for new teachers as myself, I wanted to share some easy tips to being a successful virtual school teacher. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about being supportive, being available, and being aware. So let's start with being supportive. As a virtual school teacher, I soon learned that my ultimate role is not so much just the teacher, but it's to be a coach. And as Mr. Rob stated previously, I'm a cheerleading coach, so it's kind of the same concept. I'm coaching my students through the concepts in the curriculum. And so some ways that you could possibly show support as an online teacher is to make sure that first and foremost you're praising them for persevering through the work. Because think about sitting in a classroom doing math problems all day with paper and pencil. That's just as complicated as it would be to work on a computer completing math problems. And for me, I feel like it would be easier to write out my steps rather than type out my steps. So constantly giving them feedback on their progress and their growth. Reminding them to pace themselves, to not rush through their work, but to actually take in the information so that they can understand the material. And most importantly, keep a clear line of communication. And Lindsay's going to talk more about the different ways of communication, but some of the ones that I wanted to mention were email, texting, Edmodo posts, Skype messaging, Google Hangouts, and there are a variety of communication lines that you can establish with your students. But they need to know ultimately that you are there to support them, that you have their back, that you're not going to let them fall, and that you're always on their team. Research has shown that when students feel supported by their teachers, their engagement, achievement, and performance levels are higher than students who do not share a supportive relationship with their teachers. And there's a link below that you can read that gives you more information about this research. But I want you to think about it as a regular classroom teacher. If you have the relationship with your students, you know that they are going to perform better. It's the same concept with online teaching. If you establish that relationship with your students early, then you know that you can continually guide them as they're working through their material, through the curriculum. And one activity that I used as soon as I found out my students, I emailed them and I had them pretty much do an About Me survey or an About Me list and kind of ask them about, what's your favorite color, what sports do you participate in, how do you like your regular school, what brings you to virtual school, just so that I could get to know them better. The next thing I want to talk to you about is being available. And this is probably common sense, but sometimes we take this for granted. You must be flexible with your student schedule and with your own schedule so that you can make sure you're attending to your students' needs. And ways that you can expand your availability could be designating office hours in which you are near your computer at a specific time each day to answer questions or communicate directly with your students. updating your data devices, such as your smartphone, your iPad, your tablet, laptop, whatever you have, so that you can receive instant communication from your students if any issues arise. And also, once again, establishing different forms of communication so that you can reach all students. And I have an Android phone, and I was very glad that I could instantly communicate with my students when needed. I would have them, type out a math problem, or if they were stuck, I would list out the steps to kind of guide them and help them with the rest of their work. So it's really good to have different communication techniques, because sometimes kids aren't really used to email. And as you know from our society now, text messaging, Skype, Facebook, Twitter, these are the new forms of communication for our students. So we have to make sure that we're adapting ourselves to fit their needs. Being available is important because students want to know and believe that there is someone on the other side of the computer screen constantly monitoring their progress and growth. And that is very, very, very important. Going into virtual school, put yourself as the student. You're probably wondering, okay, is there really a teacher there, or am I just working problems out all day? Am I just writing essays all day? They need to know that you exist. I remember as a student, we thought that teachers spent the night at school. They didn't have lives outside of school. It's kind of the same concept here. The students want to know that you are a person, that you are a human. So you need to make sure that you're available to them so that even if it's not about the curriculum, if they just need to talk to you about a problem they're having, just like at school, we're counselors to them. So we need to make sure that we're always there, whether it's academic-based, socially-based, whatever they need. The last thing I would like to share with you is being aware. And as the coach of your virtual students, you must remain aware of their strengths, weaknesses, growth, progress, and most importantly, personal background information. And I noted there that the computer and internet are the tools to help you guide your students. I truly believe that you need to know your personal background of your students, whether it's their birthday, where they live, are they taking any trips that would prevent them from completing their assignments. You need to know these things because you don't want them to fall behind. Personal interest is also important because just like in the classroom, we're constantly thinking of ways that we can make connections to the curriculum, and we want the students to truly engage themselves in the work. So if they're bored with the work or if they don't understand the work and you know their personal interests, you can use that to help them, to build them up so that they better understand it and can make appropriate applications to real-life situations. Also, once again, noting their educational strengths and weaknesses so that you can adapt or enrich the program or reteach concepts when needed. Another thing that we really paid attention to over the summer was the time spent on assignments, because especially in summer online virtual school, students are really trying to, get done with the course so that they can have the summer. But you need to make sure that you are reiterating to your students that it's not about getting done quickly. It's about, are you understanding the material? If not, then we're failing them. We're hurting them. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to trends that we see in the data, because data plays a major role. And we have an advantage here because we have a computer program that will show us how long they're spending on assignments, what weaknesses they have in, the curriculum. And lastly, availability and access to resources. This is simple, just making sure that their computer is updated, they can get on different websites whenever you want to add in interventions, or they can use email or different lines of communication. We need to make sure that they have those resources available to them. Quickly, some of the interventions I used for math this summer were videos, and I will add those links on the chat room. I use Khan Academy videos to kind of reteach some of the concepts that the students didn't understand. There's also this really cool Edu Creation app available for iPad and iPod that you can record yourself teaching and demonstrating like a math problem or, social studies, any subject. You can record yourself and the students can watch it and interact with what you have recorded. And there's also various websites that include, math games, math activities, animations that really engage the students and spark their interest level. One that I absolutely love is Brain Talk, and you do have to purchase a subscription to it, but I promise you, you are not wasting your money. So I would suggest that you know your students academically, behaviorally, socially, just like in the regular classroom. You have to figure out, okay, what is it about little Johnny? Can he not eat sugar in the afternoons? Is that going to make him crazy? You have to make sure that you understand and know each of your students so that you can adapt your curriculum to fit the needs of each student. So just to recap, 3 easy tips to being a successful virtual school teacher. Are you being a supportive coach to your students? How available are you to your students? And are you aware of your students' background, strengths, weaknesses, and skills? The last thing I want to share with you in my segment is some takeaways that I had from virtual school. And these are a couple of comments that I received from parents of my students this summer. One parent commented, "Miss Clark, my daughter was never good in regular school. She failed all her tests and did not believe in herself. You have helped her gain confidence in math. She loves your online class and would rather stay in the online school. This is her first time ever making an A in math. Thank you so much for all you have done to help my daughter." Another parent wrote, "My son really enjoys virtual school more than he likes attending his regular school all year. I think this is better for him because he can learn at his own pace. Can you tell me how to sign up for virtual school for the whole year? Is that possible?" At the end of the summer, I reflected on my experience, and honestly, I love virtual school. I just feel like I have a better connection with my students. And although, it is stressful at some points, it is frustrating at some points, this is our world now. Our world is technology. And the use of technology and all the wonderful, amazing things you can do with it really enhances education for not only your students, but it also enhances the instruction you can relay to your students. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay, who is going to actually go into detail about the different strategies you can use as you're instructing your students.
Thank you so much, Raquel. Just take a moment, and if you had made that graphic organizer, or if you're just kind of taking some notes, write down any aha moments, any questions that you have. Take about 15 seconds. Okay, let us talk a little bit about support systems for blended and online learning. Plan, plan, plan. It's what my principal has been saying to me now for almost 11 years. Plan, plan, plan. Now, more and more, integrate your content areas when possible. I understand that if I have my background in language arts, I have a little more of a luxury about what I can have students write about or have meaningful discussions in a chat room, so I understand that I can integrate when possible. But don't forget about that with your online courses. What I mean by that is, for example, if you're teaching, I did 8th grade language arts. So if I ever want to have them blog or do a writing piece, I want to make sure that we're doing something connected with U.S. history. That's what I mean by that. Be sure every assignment is aligned with a specific state standard, just like you would in your district. I know that seems very simple, but many times, you think this is a great idea, but make sure it's what students should be learning. Because I do feel like since virtual school is such a new wave, if you will, even though we know it's been around a little bit longer than most people do. We absolutely want to make sure that we are addressing everything and making sure, we're minding our P's and Q's. We absolutely want to make sure everything we do, because it is aligned with the state standard, Common Core, etc., because we are under that microscope. And one thing, this is required, and I don't know if this is uniform among other districts, as I am only familiar with the rules and guidelines for my area, but my principal always required that we submit a pacing guide to students and parents on the very first day. Absolutely, if you need to amend it or change it, whatever you need to do, you have to make sure that you let them know week 1 what should be completed, week 2 until week 12 or 6, however long it lasts for that. Please make sure that they know the expectation, because they understand that they have to complete the entire course, but it gives them an opportunity to feel successful week to week. And as Raquel was just talking about, we absolutely need to make sure that we are communicating. And we know our students and our families. And so I think that's key. And it starts with the pacing guide. It starts with the very first day. Another way you can support is offer extra credit and or assignments beyond the pacing guide to challenge. And like I said, a pacing guide is there to assist and keep students on target, but absolutely you can change it as long as everyone that needs to be aware is made aware. So don't be afraid to give extra credit. Okay, I have a question. That's fine. About the ways that I communicate with students during. Okay, I've actually got that later on in the slide, Rob, if that's all right, about all the types of communication. Okay, good. Okay, a little bit more about the reflection opportunities. Formative assessments should be done throughout. And I mean, I'm just coming from experience here. Just because we have them do it does not absolutely mean we have to give a grade for every single thing. I mean, sure you can, but sometimes it's good just to have them give you a weekly or a daily reflection, especially if a student is going very quickly. I mean, that's great that they're getting it done. Can we finish it in a week? Well, let's talk about that. Let's reflect. Let's make sure we're doing okay. Meet the needs of the students where they are. And also be sure to provide opportunities for interaction with peers and or the global community. And I have some examples, as we were talking about earlier, to the website, and I'll reference that in a few slides up. All right, here's an example of just a week 1 pacing guide. This is just directly what I did from last summer when I did 8th grade. I'll let you just take a second and look at it. I always make sure I have the expectation of the learning path. I make sure I have my pre-test, my standard, making sure that we happen to use for our social network Edmodo. And that's actually what Rob was wanting me to go into, and I will definitely, because I'm a huge advocate for Edmodo or some equivalent to it. And through that use of Edmodo, that's how I communicated with students. Now, I offered that opportunity for parents, but I did find it to be more successful with student communication. But in regards to the pacing guide, I also listed, whenever I gave a writing assignment, I always had a rubric. And so here in Tennessee, we have a state writing rubric, as I'm sure all states do. And so we always make sure that they knew it's the holistic grading scale. They knew the expectation. And one of my mini lessons, actually, before they began their blogging, was just to make sure that they understood how they were being assessed. So many times, so much is going on in regards to like making sure that they get assignment 1, assignment 2, that they're going, oh, I forgot about the writing. So make sure they always know how they're being assessed. And an extra credit opportunity, I just let them do note-taking. It was pretty easy. Well, that was the first time I tried that. It was very successful with some students, and some others not so much. So that's my pacing guide. I just feel like it is absolutely mandatory and non-negotiable. All right, let's talk a little bit about blogging, and we'll end with communication. But here, this past summer, I just decided to try Kid Blog. It was just the platform that I used. Really, any platform will do. What I liked about Kid Blog actually was the fact that it mirrored exactly what a student would use if they were really blogging without all the protections and the safety things. But it used the same how to upload a file, how to edit it. And I liked that because you're giving them that real world experience, but with the safety net, as the instructor could make sure that they're not putting that, hey, they're from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and here's my address. And actually I did have an 8th grader do that. Bless their heart, they absolutely really meant well, and they were just excited. But that's what I liked about Kid Blog. It was very much kid-friendly and teacher-friendly. My screen went dark for a second. I'm sorry about that. All right, and also, in addition to having student blogs, there's a free blog for teachers with this platform. And if anyone out there uses something other than Kid Blog, please share. I'm not being paid for anything like that. But it's just something that I found to be useful. All right. That's pretty much what I said there. How did I do my blogging? Well, as a 6th grade language arts teacher and in my experience in elementary as a elementary librarian, we did something called reading journals. And I took that activity and made it digital. And instead of my reading journals, we called it blogging. And so I gave them topics, and here are some examples. I'm not really going to read them to you. They're just, you know, your best ideas to kind of get the kids thinking and get their mind jogging. Why are they blogging? Oh, I left out the most important part. This was this past summer, so they were doing summer reading. And so any kind of reading requirement is here. You could use for blogging. It's just the way I used it to address summer reading. Blogging, as you well know, is great for any style, expository, narrative, any type of writing. Assignment is great, and I just used it for summer reading. And here's just a copy of our writing rubric, the state holistic writing rubric. Feel free to ask me any questions as we go through this. All right, I'm going to show you an example because whenever I go to workshops, I like to see student work. Let's see. Rob, I'm trying to get you the page on here. I guess I'm drawing a blank on where I did it just a moment ago. It was there just a moment ago. Thank you. Someone help me there. Great. Okay, here is a sample of a student, one of my students, Jonathan. He's in 8th grade here when he wrote this. I mean, you're not going to see perfect, stellar work. Thank you. I just saw that comment there. Thank you, Rob. So, but what I liked about it is if you look down the right-hand side right here, I absolutely loved it because if you see comments, I had students, and I really didn't even tell them this is for a grade. I just said I wanted you to do it. Here's the expectation. Please comment. You're not seeing it. Okay. Are we good now? If you are seeing it, give me a yes there and the okay, Jennifer, thank you. Okay. Are we good to go? I'm getting some yeses. All right, I'm going to move on. Please stop me if there's a problem. But what I liked about this Kid Blog was I actually, like I said, I had the students reading books, writing about them, responding to their topics, but I got on Edmodo. I asked fellow teachers out there, and I said, hey, here's a link. If any of you guys would like to respond to the books that they had chosen to read, oh my goodness, I ended up having well over 25 people from all over the world. We had people from Australia, from Spain, teachers actually responding to the blogs, and that was thrilling. And it was absolutely just the opportunity. I just put it out there. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe a few of my friends from Facebook or coworkers would get on there, but it exploded. And so I was thrilled about it. And now actually KidBlog has added a feature when you first log on to students, the main page, the home page there, it actually has a map. And it says, here are the people who have commented on the blog, and it shows their location in the world. Debbie has a question there. Do you get to see the responses before they post to the site? Absolutely. It's part of that safety feature. And because I have an iPhone or any kind of smartphone, you can just log in, go to your email, and you can approve it directly from there. So it was great. Made it very simple. I mean, I remember being at the movie theater, and I just quickly approved the thing once I read it. So it was very easy for me. And the responses before, okay, I think I answered that question. Any other questions before I go on? Just put them out there, and I will be happy to stop and answer them as we go. All right, let's get back to the slideshow. Yes, thank you. Okay, switch gears for a little bit, and we can always go back to blogging if people have questions there at the end. But what I want to talk about are exit flips. It's something that I've been using since I read Janet Allen's Tools for Teaching Content Literacy, and I'll put that in the box. But it's a great professional development, professional reading rather, book about best practices. And how can we make that apply to online teaching? Well, here's what we do. We can ask students, it can be required and put into your pacing guide if you so choose, to complete exit flips. Before they're allowed to move to the second week of the pacing guide, or however you feel comfortable doing that, have them complete an exit flip. It can be as simple as an email, a text message, and it could be put on Edmodo. And here's a sample. What did I accomplish? Oh, I apologize for that typo. What did I accomplish in class today? That's what I meant to say. Pick one. Have them make a list, write a summary, draw a picture with a caption, have them scan it, email it, whatever you'd like to do. Have them list 5 quick facts you remember, any aha moments like we've been doing today. Did you have any questions? This is something I actually have used. Very successful. Why not address all learning styles? We can still do that in the online program, in virtual school. And another way you could actually differentiate instruction in this way, you could require them, okay, I want everybody to list 5 quick facts, and then pick another. So you can, just like you would normally in the regular classroom. I keep saying that, and it's purposeful, because we want you to recognize that online teaching is really not much different. It's just a different platform. Questions about exit flips? I feel like I am speeding through. Okay. And this, as always, I always try to do research. And Robert Marzano said that classroom researcher and education author recently wrote in depth about this formative assessment, talking about exit flips. In this article, he shares 4 uses for exit flips. Here's your goal in online education. Rate their current understanding of new learning. Analyze and reflect on their efforts around the learning. Provide feedback to teachers on an instructional strategy, something that they liked, didn't like about that lesson. And provide feedback about the materials and teaching. These are great ways that you can utilize exit flips in online teaching. Some more strategies for you there. All right, what I was talking about earlier in regards to extra credit opportunities, it can be extra credit, or it can absolutely be part of the pacing guide. Have students write a reflection. I had some students, their grades dropped, without naming any names, of course, but I had students that, were making B's, and all of a sudden the next week they dropped to a D. And I made it mandatory. I said, absolutely, as part of their weekly progress report that I had sent in the summer, I said, I want you to reflect. What went wrong? What happened? Be honest. And don't tell me your computer was messed up, because that is not a choice. Also, you can have them check out their learning styles. How best do they learn? Just because they are not best at auditory and listening That's okay. We can help them to become better at that. If they're hands-on, how can we make online learning more hands-on? Meet the student where they are. It is just what's best for your students. It's going to make your life a lot easier. All right. Other ways you can have extra credit opportunities, responding to other students' work. Like I had suggested earlier, I had said that, yes, I went all over the world with blogging, but I also asked students through Edmodo and through email, I wanted to make sure that students were commenting on each other's work. It just made it easy with blogging, but you can do that in any content area as well. And extra credit opportunity, redoing work. It's the most obvious. Why not use it? Okay, here is something that I hope I'm not stepping on any toes, but avoid skills, skills, skills. I hear it a lot. They're great. I mean, that's why I write skills are great. I mean, it's what we do. That's why we have standards. Let's make sure that they've met the benchmark, making sure that students absolutely can pass and that they're in advanced or proficient. But why not focus on inquiry-based learning? I do have a background in IB, which is inquiry-based learning, for those who may not know. So how can we apply that to virtual school? Think about that. There are ways. We've been talking about them. How can you have them inquire? Yes, they can do the basic content of the coursework, if you will, but what can we have them do? They're on the internet. Let them research. Let them find out. Let them enjoy it. Because if students are interested, then they're definitely going to be learning more. Give them a reason why they should be learning. Remember, if we want online learning to succeed long term, we need to work on the whole child. That is our goal. Sorry if you hear my cat in the background. Apologies. But our long-term goal is to teach the whole child. We can't forget that. And I feel like Raquel really addressed that very well, that we need to know our students. We need to know their weaknesses, their strengths, and we want them to walk away feeling successful, not defeated. It is okay to go beyond the basic curriculum. Well, we would absolutely do it in the regular classroom. Just make everything you do is directly connected to a standard, and that really isn't hard if you really start looking at the Common Core especially. So skills are fine. You should have them, but just skills, skills, skills. Let's try to work on that inquiry-based learning and developing the whole child. All right, and here's something that research that I found that says emerging reports show a troubling overall picture of poor performance and low graduation rates for full-time online students. 2 small-scale studies found positive effects for elementary students, however, suggesting that parental supervision could be an important factor. I found that fascinating because it's something that, we're always told communicate, communicate, communicate with our parents and our students at all times. So why is it better in elementary? Well, one factor is because of that parental supervision. Maybe more. All right, let's talk a little bit about parent communication. I hope this addresses what Rob was asking earlier. If not, Rob, just jump right in. Parent communication. Phone, email, text message, Edmodo, Skype, Google Hangout, face-to-face. Have I missed anything? If I have, feel free to put it into our chat. All right, regular phone. Just want to talk about this. Each way you can communicate with parents or students. Most parents prefer this method in my experience. I have no data to support that, but it is my experience. They just like it. They just feel a little better. They just want to hear your voice. It is the most time-consuming. We were required to make at least 2 phone calls in a 6-week summer session. Not sure exactly what's required out there in other schools, but it was mandatory. So sometimes it just has to be done. Email. Personally, it was successful. I did find it to be dependent upon a few factors. It just depended on if a parent was required to have an email. Okay. Debbie, thank you for posting that. And Debbie, for those that don't know, is actually our principal in our online virtual, Village Virtual school. But yes, she's right. In the fall and spring, we ask teachers to communicate with parents once a month. But that's the bare minimum. Why do the bare minimum? If a parent is required to have an email from work, we do find that, going back to the emails, right? We find that high response. You may get it immediately. I send it out within 3 minutes, I've got a response. But if a parent does not have an email at work or not attached to their smartphone, then bare minimum response, or none at all. Or, oh, I only check my email once a week or maybe once a month. Students found email to be hard to use, depending on their writing skills, and they actually preferred text messaging. Raquel actually said in most cases, we call at least once a week just to check in with parents. Yes, he said it's the bare minimum that was required. Feel free to jump into Raquel anytime on the talk. Text messages. Kids love it. Parents liked it too. It just depends, once again, it just depended on the household. This is the easiest beyond email to document. Haven't really spoken a lot about that, but if you're calling parents, you need a document. Students love texting me questions, and I could easily multitask as their teacher. So they could actually text me anytime, not even during the office hours, and I would do my best to get back within an hour, maybe immediately, depending on what I was doing. Edmodo. I absolutely loved Edmodo, but I like Facebook. If you're a Facebook person, you're going to like Edmodo. Rob asked, would you collect all students' cell phone numbers? If so, how would you do this? It was just part of the registration package that we received, and we actually have a database beyond our courseware, but we actually had like a database that had parent numbers, teacher numbers, so we just asked for everything. And usually within the first week, you figured out who you're reaching. The first day, actually. Okay. All right, Edmodo. And facts. Debbie, I hope I've got you on this one. Here at the Hamilton County Virtual School, that now is Village Virtual, or the staff part of it. But anyway, the summer online program's passing rate increased by 7% from the 2011 to the 2012 year. One factor, Edmodo. We had Edmodo, some did it was optional, but it was required in 2012. I mean, that alone has increased. I mean, that's the only factor we could find. Our enrollment was up, but it increased, so that's a huge gain. Debbie says we also used email texting for a while and asked for the student's cell phone, talking about how we gathered the data. But straight texting seems effective. I agree. I'm sure Raquel does as well. I know we're kind of getting tight on time, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. Skype. If you don't have a Skype account, join for free. Why not? It's very easy to use. You can get a desktop app. You can use it from your cell phone. You can use it from your iPad. However you need to do it. You can do video or voice, just like we're doing here. Google Hangout. This is just like Skype. But for my middle school students, this was actually much easier for them to use. There was nothing to download. Plus, Instant Message was connected. Surprisingly, I had several use that. I kind of forgot about instant messaging, except through Facebook for me personally, but it was great. So I kind of am on the side of Google Hangout personally, not pushing it any way possible. Raquel, do you want to jump in on what you were saying there?
Yeah, Lindsay, I just wanted to note that if you're kind of concerned about, do you have to program every student's number into your phone? I had an assignment on the first day where I had each student text me their name, nickname, birthday, and something special about them. And that was a quick way for me to go ahead and save them into my phone and to show them that I am available through text messaging.
Fantastic. That's a great assignment. I wish you had told me. But Debbie also said that Skype and Google Hangout gives you a FaceTime feature. and screen sharing capabilities. I love that. You could do more than one person. And I actually would have my students, I actually set up, I think it was 4 times last summer. It's just the most recent is why it's on the brain for last summer. But I actually had students, I would say, okay, at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, or for the next 3 Tuesdays, I'm going to be available on Google Hangouts. If you want to join me, great. And, I mean, if I had 1 student, great. If I had, actually I never had 0. I always had at least 1 student, usually 2 or 3. Just the way it happened. I've tried to offer evening times, not as frequently, but you know your schedule, and you also know your student's schedule if you're connecting with them. And so that definitely helps. Speaking of connecting, I really wasn't sure. I remember last summer was the first time I did this, and I remember asking my principal, Debbie, I was like, Debbie, is this okay? She's like, why wouldn't it be okay? But you're not sure. You're just kind of getting your feet wet here. But I actually had face-to-face meetings. I did it 2 times over the 6 weeks. And I called Meet and Teach. At Panera, I figured, why not? There's plenty of table space. That's just how it worked out. I did it on my side of town just to test drive it. I had, it says at least 5, okay, I counted them up. And at least 5 of my 27 students meet me there. And we worked at least 2 or so hours. I was pleased. What a great turnout. And each time I had a different set of students. So all in all, I met 10 out of 27 of them face-to-face. So I was pleased with that. We called it Meet and Teach. Other people use Starbucks. You know yourself. At least make it a place you enjoy. But I think face-to-face meetings were critical. I had a student that was doing just kind of D work, almost failing, but not quite, doing the bare minimum. I met him one time and promised him I would help him. I really connected with him and did my very best. I mean, and almost immediately his grades went up. Very pleased with that. All right, and just because of time, I'm going to go ahead and skip that moment there. And I wanted to share, I actually went through my emails this past week of some former students, and I wanted to share with you some things, some feedback from 2 sides of the track, if you will. One from a low-performing inner-city middle school. That was in 2008, I believe. And then the other one from a very affluent middle high here in Chattanooga. So very different socioeconomic scales. And I received feedback that said, thanks, Ms. McCarter. I wish you, I copy and pasted, could be his teacher. I love you so much. I love you so much for work with my grandson. I mean, I left it that way on purpose. It doesn't have the perfect grammar or anything like that. Because she's reaching out with me. It was a grandmother who had a student with a major discipline problem. I'm not saying it absolutely saved him. That's not my intention. But her son started doing his work. Her grandson, I mean. That was huge. The other one, the parent said, I cannot remember when my son completed a book until now. Plus, we did it together. That was huge. They were building their family together. Thanks for advising that we listen to a book on CD or from iTunes. They actually downloaded their book and listened to it. Okay. And that's our bibliography. This would be a great time as Raquel was in. We'll let Raquel jump in and help us with our reflection.
All right, we had an aha moment from Miss Debbie. She added that she loved the idea of having students check their info as the first assignment to help connect you, and I love the idea of the exit slips. It makes students accountability and helps them do some deeper processing of the content. If you have any questions, feel free to add to the chat box or to verbally ask us. It's okay about the grammar. I can decipher. Lindsay and I are going to add our personal websites and emails to the chat box in case you want to follow up if you think of a question later.
So I think I got cut off there. I just was saying Village Virtual website is up there as we were talking about that, and some of our blogs. And we'll do one final list in the archive. And I guess we will hand it over to Rob. Debbie actually posted about the wiki that Village Virtual uses. It's stuff that we have been working over the past couple of years that are some ready-to-go videos and just great websites, all there for you. So check that out.
Thank you for telling me that you weren't hearing me. Dang, I sometimes hit that mute button. Anyway, please join me in thanking Raquel and Lindsay for their great presentation of how they do things today. And I appreciate all that people are sharing there. I'm going to put a quick link in the chat room, which is our quick evaluation of this session. So before you leave, if you could click on that and just fill out that quick evaluation for us in INACOL. Please join me again in thanking Lindsay and Raquel for their great presentation about how they support students online. So thanks, everybody. Hope to see you again at one of our future webinars.